Good morning, Carrie Brandon here. I am a lifelong Johnson County citizen. Recently moved to Douglas County in the last 5 years, but for 50 years I've been on the Johnson County side. I am recording this because it's something that I'm concerned about as a citizen, just an everyday, ordinary citizen, hardworking, tax-paying business owner in Johnson County. It's with regards to resolution number 027-23, and not particularly about approving industrial revenue bonds to support the construction of building A for a future tenant, to incentivize them to come into the Air Commerce Center to conduct their business. But it's more or less my big concerns, and they always are around the lack of transparency with the new chairman, Mike Kelly, and the fact that he doesn't allow the live broadcast or the archiving and recording of general public comment on these commission meetings, which are really critical for the transparency to fellow citizens of what other citizens' concerns are about policy making and projects that are being discussed, approved, whatever it may be. The fact that our public voice, general comment, is being censored and not documented and archived on the county's YouTube channel is inexcusable to me personally. Frustrating that our chairman cannot see where he's doing such a huge disservice to the citizens of Johnson County. So with that being said, transparency for me is big, and speaking truths is big. And that's not happening here, in my opinion. Not around the IRB resolution of, spending. It looks like if you roll down in the resolution, which I've provided links in the webpage below to this brief, $34,150,000, right, in industrial revenue bonds for the purpose of financing the construction of this building A, which is at 16105 John Glenn Way in the New Century Center. So this issue that I have is the lack of transparency around who the company is going to be that we're providing industrial revenue bonds to in the amount of $34 million plus to construct their manufacturing facility. It immediately made my ears burn when I was listening to Mr. Otto, who's the assistant county manager, Aaron Otto, explain the resolution in the commission meeting. When referring to the tenant who's purchasing the building from Van Trust, so just to be clear, the county leases the ground that Van Trust develops the buildings on, and then Van Trust either leases to tenants, or in this case this particular company wants to purchase. So with that being said, Mr. Otto, in describing things, never mentions the company by name, and so immediately I'm always like, well, who are we talking about here? It's like, who's the company? And throughout the entire commission meeting, the company was never mentioned by name. It was just like, it was referred to as there, or an important tenant coming along, or this new company, or a manufacturing facility, or our new partner.
Building in question is Building A. That is approximately 333,000 square foot building that was started as a spec building and has now transitioned into a build-to-suit for an important tenant coming along.
But to issue taxable industrial revenue bonds for a project located at 16105 John Glenn Way in New Century.
We'll be assuming a ground lease with this new company.
Real excitement to welcome new partners for economic development.
Financing construction of a manufacturing facility.
5 votes in favor, 1 against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
Resolution's adopted. Thank you very much to our guests and to the new partners we'll have in Johnson County.
Never once, except for one single mention in this brief, if you're observant enough to catch it, was the company mentioned. And the company is CNANO Technologies. So if you scroll down in here, and I even try and have a hard time, here it is. Okay. So this building A will be sold to CNANO Technology USA. a Delaware corporation. Delaware corporations are spun up, of course, for anonymity purposes, so you can't tell who the members, managers, owners are, or an affiliate thereof to be used for manufacturing. So this part just totally was glossed over by the presentation by Mr. Otto, and not a focal point at all. And so that just instantly made me want to do research on who CNANO Technology USA is. So if you research CNANO Technologies USA, immediately the only things that come up are this China-owned company. And you cannot find CNANO Technologies USA on the SEC's website. You cannot find any information about this CNANO Technologies USA company, which just leads the public to assume that, this brand, CNANO, is the CNANO technology company that is China-owned. So if you go to their website, this was the first thing that I did, and you can look and search through all the CNANO impressions that show up when you search those keywords, and it all is leads back to this China company. I can't find anything else anywhere that makes me believe it would be any other company than this one. And I could be incorrect, but this is the only thing that we've been able to uncover about CNANO Technologies. So basically they produce carbon nanotube and graphene materials for use in, all kinds of things. And it's the nanotube powder and the graphene that are the concern, because nanotube, the word nano meaning micro, these materials are considered chemical hazards, and when inhaled or ingested into the human body, it's very similar to what asbestos would do to your lungs. So the reason carbon nanotube and graphene is such an emerging technology is because it strengthens everything. And when these things are in such tiny micro, nano sizes, and they get into the human body, your body can't absorb and dissolve them. They just stick in your lungs. They create instant inflammation, which then leads to cancer and all kinds of awful things. So what they're doing at this Building A is they are going to be manufacturing battery additives, is what they're calling it. They're using the carbon nanotube powders and graphenes to create pastes and other types of materials for electric vehicle batteries and probably other types of energy storage. So they will be handling and using powders, these powders that are, if not responsibly contained within the facility itself, can be very catastrophic, not only to the workers at the facility, but if it gets airborne or it gets into the water, wastewater, the public, it will do damage to the public health and safety unbeknownst to any of us because it's invisible. The company themselves responsibly, does state the risk, the health risk, okay? So on their website, it says, and this is stated on other medical research papers and even by our own EPA, that nanotechnology is an emerging field. There are many uncertainties as to whether the unique properties associated with these engineered nanomaterials also pose unique occupational health risks, but also to the public. We at CNANO strike hard to ensure the safety of handling the carbon nanotubes. We aggressively enforce the adoption of many engineering control at our workplace to isolate areas where a possible spill might happen. So they acknowledge that nanomaterials pose a health risk. So what I have a problem with is that there's been no public hearing or notification or discussion during our commission meetings around this hazardous manufacturing facility that wants to operate in Building A at New Century Air Center. I sent an email to our chairman, Mike Kelly. I sent this and outlined all of the reasons why I was concerned about the public not knowing the details and the truths behind what Building A would be being used for and what we would be issuing these ROBs to, a China potentially. We can't prove it because there's anonymity. We can't tell who this company is. The Kansas filing for CNANO is vague. They use a registered agent. Like I said, it's a Delaware entity. You can't see members and managers. The only thing that I could really glean in terms of, okay, how do we find out more about who this company is to take a look at the signature of the authorized person, which they've got listed as President Sean Montgomery. So from there, it's like, who is Sean Montgomery? There's a million Sean Montgomerys in the world, right? So, but if, you just use your common sense and you search for those professionals named Sean Montgomery that are involved in the industry of manufacturing, like energy storage and things like that, you can go down the rabbit hole and eventually find information. And I think that I have pegged who Sean Montgomery is with regards to CNANO. Here's what he specializes in. More than 25 years of experience in domestic and international product process development, scale-up, manufacturing, and general operations in the chemical, energy storage, filtration, HVAC, and recycling industries. High-tech startup, turnaround, and mature company experience. And then if you get further down into his specialties, it mentions multinational operations. So that, got my attention right there. And then also global sourcing, and contract manufacturing, scaling up. So I'm pretty certain, at least my gut instinct tells me, that CNANO Technologies USA is affiliated with, is a extension and owned by CNANO Technologies in China, and that Sean Montgomery, the president, is exactly what it says here. He is an expert in multinational operations, and he's getting their foreign entity off the ground at the New Century Commerce Center. I've also provided a bunch of links in the webpage below this video where you can check it out for yourselves, do your own research, come to your own conclusions. These are just my observations. But, the fact that our county would provide industrial revenue bonds to a foreign entity, right? So this is funds that could be funding a U.S.-based company. I'm not saying that we shouldn't invite foreign business into Kansas, but with this, the current state of affairs with China being a concern security-wise for the United States, it's like, why are we not incentivizing Kansas businesses or U.S.-based businesses to operate out of New Century? Why are we inviting in a potentially Chinese-owned corporation to manufacture hazardous materials at the Air Center when, keep in mind, the Air Center itself is a civil/military air center. New Century Air Center has military Chinook helicopters that fly in and out and operate out of New Century. So, is there a risk for our military in terms of security. And then, our sheriff's department, law enforcement, part of the law enforcement is located right there too. More importantly, this hazardous material with the nanotubes and graphene is located extremely close to both Olathe neighborhoods and Gardner neighborhoods. I do want to point out that our one commissioner, when the IRB resolution for the industrial revenue bonds was approved, it was a 5-to-1 vote, and the one commissioner that voted it down, said no, was our Commissioner Charlotte O'Hara. And I really appreciate her critical thinking with regards to everything that comes across the commission. She seems to often be the only one that weighs both sides before making her decisions. And this has bothered her too. And she actually wrote an article, and I will also include that because she has some really great insights. You can read Commissioner O'Hara's article, which is linked on the webpage below. Additionally, I want to point out that Senator Mike Thompson at the Kansas State Capitol is also very concerned, as well as other state government officials. Carrie Barth also, she's a House rep, is another one who's been a very good advocate for public safety and environmental safety. This is an email from him. He had the same information about what was going on with the IRB at New Century and this unknown company. And so he had the researchers at the State House actually try to find out and dig into more information about CNANO Technologies USA. And again, they couldn't get past the Delaware registration and the foreign covered entity with Kansas. There's just, it's almost impossible. There's no transparency. Even the county can't give us information as to who the company really is, because they can't see it either. There is no way to tell, and that is a problem. So our commission needs to protect its public interest and its public and environmental safety by understanding fully what kind of manufacturing and what kind of company is behind the purchase of Building A at the New Century Air Commerce Center. I mean, that is not too much to ask, in my opinion. And, in the commission meeting, they emphasize over and over how important it is for the airport to be self-sustaining, right? For bringing business to it, it's so important. Well, is that more important than protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Johnson County, especially Gardner and Olathe? So basically, question, where's the effort on the behalf of our Johnson County elected commissioners to educate the public, not just, bury the name of the company in a brief with one line of text, but to literally mention them by name, explain to the public who CNANO Technologies is, provide information on the foreign entity that it's registered through. Why is this information not available to the public? This is not a typical heavy industrial development area. This is an air center surrounded in close proximity by a lot of homes and businesses, restaurants, etc., schools. So I encourage you to dive into it more, ask the commissioners questions, and be heard.